Hi guys, you are watching Biology with Inshra, and in today's video we are going to talk about the topic osmosis. Now if you guys have not seen the video made on diffusion, then I highly recommend that you stop watching right now, pause the video and go ahead and watch that video first and then come back, and you may find the link to that video in the description box down below. So just click on the link and you will be directed to the video. Now in this video we are going to talk about osmosis, and you need to understand diffusion as they are somewhat related, because if you have not understood diffusion then you will struggle to understand the concepts of this particular topic. After osmosis we will be discussing active transport, but that's for some other day because our main focus for today is osmosis. So let's get started. Now let's first understand this. For the proper functioning of any cell, a cell must get the required materials like water, ions, glucose, and must also be able to remove the waste products that are made within, and to do so the following processes occur: diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Now these are the three major processes by which substances can enter or exit a cell. Now what types of substances can enter a cell? Well, those substances could be water, ions, minerals, glucose, sugar. Well, sugar and glucose are the same, or amino acids, fatty acids, or glycerol. And why do cells require such materials? They require such materials maybe for the growth and repair of the cell, or to carry out some essential activities, life activities, to sustain and maintain life. Or it may require such materials to simply stay alive, to carry out a bunch of processes that are needed and would not be able to take place had it not been for the following substances or materials that I have named just now. And when these particular materials are used, these same materials are basically, they make waste products. For example, the process of respiration happening in the mitochondria in a cell makes the waste product carbon dioxide and water, and they also need to leave the cell as they can be harmful for the cell. Now if you want to understand this a bit in more detail about mitochondria and cells, then I recommend that you watch my video made on cells part 1 and part 2, and you can do so by also clicking the link in the link which is in the description box down below. So now we have understood that materials move into and out of the cell. The substances moving out are waste, and the substances moving in are needed by the cell, and they happen by the three major processes that you can see are right here. So let's first understand what is osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water molecules from a region of higher water potential to a region of lower water potential down the water potential gradient and through a semi-permeable membrane. Now when we say osmosis, all it concerns is only involved with the movement of water molecules, no solids or gases, just liquids. Okay, and when I say from a region of higher water potential, what is water potential? Water potential is basically the tendency of water molecules to move from one place to another. Let me give you an example. Let's take a solution, and in that particular solution the number of water molecules is more and the number of the solid particles in that liquid is less. So when I say the number of water molecules is more, what I mean is that it has a higher water potential, because then the water molecules have a greater tendency to move in that particular space, mainly because there are less number of solids to interrupt the movement of those water molecules. But had there been a container in which the number of water molecules is low but the number of solids is higher, then I say that the water potential is low there, because the number of solids that could interrupt the movement of water molecules is more, so thereby disturbing and also decreasing the tendency of water molecules to move in that particular space. So that's what this means. From a region where the number of water molecules is high to a region of where the number of water molecules is low, or you can say from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, but it would be better to use this terminology as this is the perfect definition and it is most preferred. Now when I say down the water potential gradient, it's very simple. It means from a region of high to low, from a region of high water potential to the region of a low water potential. Is that why it says down, from high to low? And then it says through a semi-permeable membrane. So this is very important. The reason why this is green is I just want to emphasize that it is very important that you write this down in your definition, because osmosis can never ever occur if there's no semi-permeable or partially permeable membrane. It must it needs and it must require a partially permeable membrane in order to occur. Diffusion, however, does not require any membrane, but osmosis needs a semi-permeable membrane. It is a passive process, which means it does not require energy. No energy is needed from the process of respiration. Water potential, we've discussed this. Now let's have a look at this diagram. Now there's water on both sides, and these circles are the basically insoluble solids present on both sides, and this here is the partially or selectively permeable membrane, a membrane that only allows certain molecules to get into and out of it. Not everything can enter it, just like the cell membrane. Okay, so if you notice here, the number of water molecules is the same on both sides because they're in an equal level, but the number of solids is higher here and lower here. So we say it is this area is more concentrated and this area is more diluted because the number of solids is less here, and when the number of solids is less here, that basically implies that the number of water molecules is more. So this has a higher water potential, more water here, less water here, because the number of solids is more here and the number of water molecules must be less, thereby having a lower water potential, as they don't have a greater tendency to move, mainly because there are more solids present to interrupt its movement. So according to the definition of osmosis, water should move from here to here, and they're able to do so because this here is a partially permeable membrane that contains microscopic pores that are very, very small, and they're so small that they only allow water molecules to move through it. They don't allow anything else, especially solids. Now the solids will remain same on both sides, mainly because the pores are too small and the solids will not be able to move through the pores, so they remain the same on both sides, and this is exactly what the word semi-permeable means. So the water moves from here to here, and as the water moves from here to here, you can see that the water level rises. Water is moving from here to here and the water level is rising here, and as it rises you can see that the water potential is increasing here, and when it is increasing here you can see that there is a hydrostatic pressure that is being created from the water molecules above, and that particular water molecule will then push it downwards, and when it pushes it downwards, so when the hydrostatic pressure made by the water molecules on top acts downwards, so there's this force, which I'll just draw for you and explain this so that you understand this. So there's this force that is created like this from the top water molecules, which push it downwards, and eventually the water level here will also rise. Eventually it will reach a state of equilibrium, which means when the number of water molecules is the same on both sides. So when the pressure is created, the water molecules will rise here, and it will eventually the number of water molecules will become equal on both sides, and the level will be equal at one point, because then again the pressure will have allowed this to reach a state of equilibrium, which means when something is balanced, and this will no longer be in this state, as it will then become balanced, right? Same number of water molecules on both sides, but the number of the solids will remain different, because then again this here is partially permeable membrane and it does not allow solids to enter, but then it will reach a dynamic equilibrium as the number of water molecules is the same. Okay, now let me just get the pointer. So moving on, now we're going to talk about the different osmotic conditions, and there are basically three main types of osmotic conditions, with the first one being hypertonic, second isotonic, and the third hypotonic. Hypertonic and hypotonic are both opposites to each other, and we'll be first discussing about the animal cell placed in the three following solutions, and after in the next video we'll be talking about a plant cell, because in the plant cells section it is a bit more complicated. So let us first focus on animal cell, then I'll be covering more on the plant cell in the next video in more detail. Now, what is a hypertonic solution? As you can see here, a solution that is concentrated, which means it has less number of water molecules, thereby having a low water potential, and has a high number of solids. So according to the definition of the osmosis, if you place, for example, any animal cell, maybe let's place a red blood cell in a hypertonic solution, water should move out of the cell. Then again, if you understand this, the solution is more concentrated and the water potential is greater within the cell, so the water moves from the cell into the solution, as explained in the definition of osmosis. So when water moves out of the cell shrinks due to the loss of volume, and spikes are formed on the cell membrane, and this condition is called crenation. The cell has basically died here. Then in the isotonic condition, you can see that the concentration is the same in both the cell and solution, which means the number of water molecules in solids is the same in both the cell and the surrounding solution. So water moves in and out to kind of keep it balanced, and the cell remains the same and no change occurs. And this is the preferred condition, which is also there in our body, and that is why the red blood cells are not exploding or getting crenated, because there is an isotonic condition, or osmotic condition is an isotonic in our blood. And this is what allows us to keep alive. Had it been hypertonic or hypotonic, we would have died, as the cell is dead in both the circumstances, but not in the isotonic case. Now in hypertonic, the solution is more dilute, which means the solution has a higher number of water molecules. So according to the definition of osmosis, water should move from that solution into the cell because the water potential is lower in the cell. So when the water moves into the cell swells. It increases in size because the volume is increasing within the cell. When the cell bursts or explodes due to the lack of support, which is the cell wall. Now, animal cells don't have a cell wall, and cell walls are basically very rigid and they're inelastic, and they're able to withstand very high pressures or internal pressure within the cell. But since there is no cell wall, we can say that the cell membrane is not able to withstand such pressure, and it is stretchable, and it reaches a point where it can no longer withstand that pressure and it explodes. And when it explodes, the cell has died. And you can see from the diagram here that the water is moving in, and here the water is moving out, and in the isotonic case, water moves in and out to maintain that equilibrium within the cell. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're watching this on Facebook, then do like and follow my Facebook page, and you may ask any questions you would like. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you may do subscribe to my YouTube channel, comment down below, like my video, share this with your friends, to all the viewers out there. And as for the Twitter users, do follow me, and I'll be releasing weekly content every single week. And as always, keep learning. See you in the next video.